Welcome to Apex Esports League. Tonight we have the Lake Edge V8 Supercar Championship for Project Cars 2 on the PS4. Tonight is the third round of the series. So tonight we have Sportsland SUGO that will be over racing in, so off to Japan. We have a full grid so far with extra reserve drivers on hand for anyone that needs to drop out during the session, so it should be some exciting stuff happening at Sportsland SUGO. So first session tonight we have practice of 15 minutes with weather overcast. Qualifying session is 15 minutes, weather's overcast. The first race for tonight, being the sprint race, is 13 laps. Weather is overcast to medium cloud with no mandatory pit. We'll have an 8-minute break while the drivers refresh before the next session. Then we'll head over for a 15-minute qualifier with medium cloud and light cloud being the weather for this qualifying session. Then the main race, we have 25 laps, weather's light cloud with a mandatory pit. So last week we had a 143 take the win in the first sprint race, and then also taking the main race was a 0 winning in the main race with Gallen and Weaven following behind. We had Gallen take the fastest lap in that session and then Weaven in the first session. So some penalties were given out, so we had a fair few incidents go on. If you did join us for the broadcast last week, so a few accidents occurred and Weaven was actually given some compensation points. These were taken out by a back marker. So we've adopted some new rules for blue flags as well. So we'll quickly look at the track before we head over into pit lane. So of course over to Japan. Game time is starting at 9 o'clock. Track length is 3.9 kilometers and there's 9 turns. So it is a hilly track, a few technical corners, a lot of fast sweeping bends as well. So not too many spots to be able to overtake besides coming off out of that run from Sector 1 down into Sector 2. So faster drivers coming out of that trickier corner across the hill will find themselves being able to get a lot of passes along that section. So we'll wait for this to load across. A lot of noise going on from pit lane. And if you're joining us for the chat, be sure to say hello. You can see the chat. And there's also sound controls down below as well, so you can play sound effects across the stream. Let us know who you think's going to take pole position and win the race. And even let us know who you think may win the championship. So currently we have Gallen leading the championship. He's sitting on 202 points. He's then followed closely behind, only 10 points difference by a 143 of 192 points, and then Weaven 777 with 182 points. So 10 points separating each of them for the top three. We have not too far behind Corby, then in 4th position with 165 points. And it is expected we mightn't have Weaven for the last couple of rounds, so opportunity for Corby and Rex to possibly step up and take some positions there, as Corby's got 165 points and Rex with 118. As you can see, we've got 16 on the field, all regular drivers with the league. While you're through, so we've got a 0 in the cash now. Okay, show car into D-Train. The D-Train's currently coming 9th in the championship. In the sprint race he finished 7th position after qualifying 9th. And then after qualifying 11th in the main race last week at Dubai, he finished in 10th. Had Kakadu, I'll check and see what his results were. I think he was able to make last week's. Yes, so we had him in the first round, so he's currently sitting only on 24 points. To Mersey Blue. So we missed Mersey last week. He wasn't able to make it, so it's good to see him back for round 3. With Mersey missing around, he's only currently sitting on 44 points for the championship, so that has him sitting in 14th position. William 777 is heading out of the pits now, so as I mentioned, he's currently coming third. And drivers are competing for a prize for the championship. So they are getting a sponsored Apex eSports League coffee cup. So it's the V8 Supercar Champion Lake Edge sponsored coffee cup. So some good times coming in so far. 1:18s. So the order that I will going through is mixing itself up a little bit. So we'll jump through. It's currently Gallen, our champion leader, coming in with the fastest time in the 1:18, 0.94. It would help if I change scenes so we have a full screen, that would be nice. Over to Demon FX. So Demon FX we saw last week doing some superb driving. He was fighting in the midfield. After a few spills, managed to recover several times and make his way back through the field, so it will be very interesting to see how he goes tonight. Over to Terex. So he's currently coming 5th in the championship with 118 points. Last week in the sprint race he finished 5th after qualifying 8th. Qualified 4th in the main race but finished in 9th position. Over to Simo Simsel is set a 1:23. Fastest laps. Getting some more seconds shaved off at the moment. So currently Corby coming in for a just under the 1:17 mark, so 1:16.992. I don't know if it's D-Train or Terex sitting right up the tail of Simo. I think that is Terex. No, so that must be D-Train. The similar team markings, yes, that's D-Train. Over to... we had Bertie in the sprint race last week, qualified 3rd and finished 3rd. And we did miss him in the round before. So he's currently sitting in the championship with 70 points in 10th position. Over to Wheeler. He's currently sitting 12th in the championship with 58 points. He's cut that corner just a little bit. So there's 8 minutes remaining of the practice session. There's Weaven flying around that bend. We'll jump on board for a lap so we can get you to be familiarised with the track. There's your Sweat Ridge as well. So Sweat Ridge is currently coming 13th in the championship. So we didn't see him for the second session of last week at Dubai. He was only able to make it for the sprint race. So he finished 11th after qualifying 5th, so only achieved 21 points in the sprint race. So that's seeing him sit back in 13th position for the championship. Wheels just brought the car back into that, and Rooney 9915. See, he was leading the championship after a good win at the first round of the series. We missed him last week. And Gallen has spun off track. Find someone to follow for a lap. And everyone we're going to is off track. And a fair bit of brakes on the car for weaving at the moment. Right, drive over to the Sweat Ridge and jump on board. He's coming up to start a lap, so we'll be able to join him for a lap. On board, coming up to the starting line. He's just bettered his time. That's actually the fastest lap of the practice session so far, 1:16.917. Not much of a difference. Oh, unfortunate for Sweat Ridge. So, we're still finding a lot of slips. You can slide that car around that bend. You've got to get a lot of speed off quite quickly, otherwise the rear does slide through. Very technical, almost double hairpin into a chicane. So, we've jinxed Sweat Ridge. And there are cold track temperatures at the moment, with the weather being overcast. And the game time started at 9 o'clock in the morning. So heavy onto the brakes, down to, well, some will take second, or some will be able to fly through there in third. You can coast through there. And then if you get a nice line here, you can be flat foot just about all the way through this double rib. Make your way across, feather it through here. And then onto the throttle. Let it steer out all the way to the edge of the track. Let's just see how he goes for this section now. Saw him get quite slippery for these corners. Much nicer line that time for Sweat Ridge. As how it's done now. I think that's Bertie at the moment. His car's looking quite beaten up. Oh, big slide for Sweat Ridge. There's not much of a difference between... Oh, the camera's gone a bit haywire. It took a while to catch up and then over zoom. So Azzurro is hitting with 1:16.920, and Sweat Ridge currently the fastest, only with a 0.917. Not much of a difference at all. It's pretty tight throughout. So we have our first 7 drivers basically within 1 second. It's quite quick indeed. Then we go through to the next 6 cars, all within about a second of each other, so that is quite tight indeed. Rooney yet to get a time on the board. And it looks like Fritz has scored himself a time penalty. Bring up the timings and see what it is. I'm not sure if we get all 16 on the screen. Oh, yes, we do. I'll scroll down. So Fritz has received a grid place penalty, so it would be excessive speeding in pit lane, most likely for that. It's not something that we always usually see occur in practice, as it is much more lenient in the practice session. The tiniest, you only got to get a kilometre over the speed limit through the pits in the qualifying, and you will get that grid penalty. There's Blue making himself familiar with the pits. The drivers will need to also make sure that they are familiar with pit entry and just how much speed they need to shave off. So it's a very quick entry going into that. So you're going up that straight. It is a lot safer in and out of the pits though. There's not a lot of spots for them to actually make contact, which is lucky. And you can pair off without getting in the driving line like many tracks do. So Simo Simsel's car's showing a fair bit of rear damage. Not sure what's happened to take such heavy damage to the rear of that car. The rest of the car is looking pretty neat. They have spun out and then rolled back into something. Oh, we have another penalty come through at the moment. Whacked wheel also. Yes, so a grid place penalty for whacked wheel as well. Time's not really changing with our top few. So far we have Sweatridge with the fastest time. There's 1.5 minutes approximately left for the practice session. Zero is coming in with the second fastest time. Oh no, Zero has just come through with fastest lap. So he's now come through with a 1:16.858. That looks like Vert Wheeler's car just being passed by a Zero. So we have a Zero now with the fastest time, followed by Sweatridge, then Colby 387 with taking the third fastest time. Got a bit of change again as well. These two are playing with each other here. That'd be Sweatridge and Corby most likely. And Sweatridge goes off, and I'm not sure who's that off track as well. I think that's D-Train. Yes, that's D-Train. Oh, and he just pulls out in front of the Zero almost. A fair bit of damage to the car. I don't know if that's just happened as he's gone off, or if that's residual, as when they bring the cars back to the pits, they get a fresh car, but the graphics for the car usually don't refresh. And if you are joining us for the stream, don't forget to hit that follow button. We did reach our milestone of 50 followers, so it'd be good to see us grow well beyond that, and be sure to check out any of our social media links down below. So we have our Facebook page, you can head over there to see all our results of our series, read any incident reports that come out from any of the races, and then you can head over to our group page from there if you want to get involved in some of our racing as well. And we just had Rooney 915 on, he just gets broad after setting the fastest lap, so 1:16.543. Coming through with a very quick time after a Zero's 1:16.858, so 0.315 at the moment being the difference. Very consistent through the field. Black Wheel having some issues, currently just about 20 seconds off pace. Not sure if he's in the same car as Mersey Blue, so he's in the 43 car. I'll double check where is Mersey Blue. He's in the pits, so we can't see, that won't be helpful. Fritz, so drivers on last laps now. ...40 seconds to get last laps done. We only have 4 cars out on the track at the moment. But Wheeler's about to finish his last lap. And there we have it. The practice session is complete. And we have Rooney 9915 coming through with that last lap with a 1:16.543. Sector times is looking pretty on par for Sector 2 and Sector 3, looking at just the first 10 times there. A little bit of difference amongst Sector 1, so it's those tricky first corners that we saw Sweatridge struggling when we were on board with him in that spot. I think that's where a lot of time can be made. If you can nail that section there, it is very much in your favour, as it is the trickiest part. And of course we have Fritz Esquina and Whacked Wheel with a grid place penalty, so whatever position they qualify, they'll be dropped back a position. Already some damage shown to Gallard's car. He's wrecked that thing already just in the pits. Hopefully he hasn't copped a time penalty for speeding. Surprised he didn't just bring the car back into the pits. Unless that is caused by lag. Yes, he hasn't got a penalty. If drivers don't have the pit limiter button set. As you can see, pit exit there comes off, not on the driving line. So you can get out pretty quick, and you can see traffic coming, which is quite handy. We've had some close calls coming out of the pits. We had an incident last week at Dubai with an unsafe exit of pit lane that caused an incident. Oh, and that's a bump. I think that's Terex giving Bertie a bump. Find Trex, make sure that is Trex's car. No, I think that's D-Train. Yes, that was D-Train giving him a bit of a bump. Oh, it's a very zoomed in shot. So Birdie's brought that car back in. He would have taken a bit of rear aero. I'm surprised D-Train possibly hasn't got some as well. You'd think he would probably want to bring that car in. As the aero for this track will drastically affect the performance of the car. Game time for this session is starting at 10 AM. Weather currently is overcast. Track temperatures still will be low but marginally increase from the practice session. And it will slightly start to increase as it goes on. Not sure if that's Whacked Wheel or Mersey Blue. Yes, we have a duplicate Whacked Wheel and Mersey Blue running same numbers at the moment. I know, 43 and 44. And we did see some interesting things last week as well. We saw Kakadu and Gallen, so they are in matching team colours, and they both pit in at the same time. We did actually go to them for the coverage as they were in the pits, and they were ghosting on each other on the spot. But after the session, Gallen did mention that he was actually sitting there waiting, so that he wasn't actually getting service, because we're wondering why his pit stop took so much longer. Gallen's just come through with the quickest time so far, and he's possibly sporting some damage as well. So the drivers will need to sort of pay attention, as it is only a small pit lane for this track as well. I'll bring up splits, that would help. There's not a lot of length to the red line on the track map. And you can see the orange lines is where pit entry starts and ends. And Rooney's just come through with the fastest time. The drivers in the main race with mandatory pit stops, and it is key to ensure a victory here is to manage you have the correct settings. You don't stuff a... Oh, we've just had Rooney go for a slide. He's made some contact. I think he'll bring that into the pits, yes. Trex looks like he's exiting the pits at the moment. Followed by Split Ridge. Oh, we've just had Whacked Wheel stopped for a moment. Not sure what's going on. So cars going every which way at the moment. Weaven and Sweat Ridge by the looks of things. So a bit of traffic in qualifying. It's 10.5 minutes left. Some weaving going on behind there. I think that may be Sweat Ridge. Yes, that's Sweat Ridge's car. Yes, drivers will need to be ensuring that they check to see who's heading into the pits and when, as they don't want to have to sit there and wait for potentially 10 to 20 seconds for another car to get service before they can. They were talking about it in the lobby before. So they were making sure to see who else has got matching team colours. At all times on the board, except for Birdie at the moment. And saw him bring that car back in after getting bumped at the start by D-Train. Gallen has come through with the fastest lap. I'm not getting an up-to-date race feed. However, Rooney is only 0.222 off pace from pole position at the moment. All cars back out on the field. But he needs to get a time on the board. Mike Will has a 1:24 at the moment. Well, he would be pushed back down into 16th at this stage, unless he can shave a few more seconds off and move up the line. Fritz Skinner needing to do the same. He needs to get a very strong time to be able to cop the one grid place penalty. We'll see if any further ones have been added, so they are still only sitting with one grid place. And a bit of damage shown to the front of Fritz's Scar at the moment. And last week we had Weaven. Oh, he's just brought that car in. We saw him do a fantastic drive for the main race last week. He led from the start. And then in the last half of the lap, there was an accident between him and a back marker that destroyed his car. And he did only come in at third position. However, with his compensation points given to him, so you check out our results at our Facebook page, you'll see a -20 for penalty points. So that is actually giving him an additional 20 points. So he would have actually received first place points with that additional points given to him. We've had Corby now come through with the fastest lap. Usually he tends to steal pole position away on the last lap. We've been having a few do that lately as well. Zero has done it a couple of times. Last week for Dubai we had Gallen 350 qualify for pole in the first race, and then Weaving 777 qualified pole in the main race. So far Weaving only sitting in 8th position with a 118. And lead change has happened again. Rooney's just come through, beating Corby's time by 0.224. Rooney's just brought that car back into the pits as well. Still plenty of time to get a few more laps in. Track temperatures will be increasing. Time progression for the session is ×2. It's a 15-minute qualifier, so that will progress time by half an hour. So that'll make the end of the session end at approximately 10:30 AM. You can see it is getting a little bit lighter out on the track. And with these quicker times coming in now, it's probably track temps are benefiting quite a fair bit. And it is custom setup, so drivers do have options for fully adjusting these cars and also choosing their tyre compounds. Being on the soft slicks at the moment in the colder track conditions would be beneficial. And they should probably get 13 laps out of the set of softs for this track. They're really pushing it through those technical ones. They could potentially scrub the front tyres out. That is a possibility. They may opt to put some hards on the front. So far we have Rooney taking pole position, Corby in second, Gallen in third, Zero is in fourth, Trex is currently in fifth, Fritz is in 13th, so that will push him back a spot because of that grid penalty. He needs to shave a few more off and jump up a fair few spots. And there are points up for grabs for the qualifying session as well. There's 20 points up for grabs for pole position. And for the sprint race, a victory here will be 30 points. And fastest lap for each race is an additional 5 bonus points to the driver who sets the quickest time for that race. Most of the field, we only have a difference of 2 seconds. That's first to 13th on this rather short track. It will be very interesting with 16 cars out on the track. It'll be very exciting indeed. Doing well for 1:17.423. Trying to make sure we cover everyone at the moment. Team Effect's doing quite well. He's only just marginally behind Mr. D-Train's time. It's only 0.006 difference between the two. Does he have an improvement here crossing the line? No improvement for him there. Still a couple of laps they can fit in at this stage. Fuel levels dropping off, track temperatures increasing. We should hopefully see some pretty good times. That Wheeler's car's looking quite beat up on that front left. A little bit of fighting with the steering through that corner. I have noticed it a fair bit happening with the cars lately, looking like they're fighting with the steering. I'm not sure if that's a lag issue. Maybe seeing it slightly different. And that is something that drivers do have to ensure that they're compensating for as well. Oh, big slide that's going to put him straight into that tyre wall. He's going to need to bring that in. He could quickly get that car back out for another out lap. Bertie with a 118.939. Still no lead change at this stage. Bertie going off track. And Bertie does do this all with the controller as well. And he is a very quick driver. Oh, I think there's some lag going on there, so we're seeing some very sudden jars in the steering for him. It looked like he was going to go off track and then came back on. With 16 cars, there is a good chance that we're going to have a few latency issues with the cars. There could be a few incidents in the opening laps for sure, with that many cars all around each other. So Bertie moves up. He's improved at that time. Yeah, definitely some lag spikes going on for Bertie's car. Fritz has now moved down into 14th position. If he can't move up another spot, that will see him move back down into 15th position. That will see Simo Simsel move up into 14th position. See if there's any other cars that are making sudden jarring movements as well. I'll gauge us to see if we're going to have any connection issues. Hopefully we don't have any disconnects. We do have several drivers all waiting to actually join in should anyone need to leave the session. If there's any that do have to leave after this first session, we should still have a full grid for session 2. And if you want to get involved in our racing, be sure to head over to our Facebook group and page. We'll be happy to have you. We do also run the iRacing series at the moment. That's on Tuesday night, so if you are on PC, be sure to head over and find out. Rooney just spins out. That's going to be it for him. Qualifying session is done. He'll just bring that car back in. Gallen's currently sitting in 4th. He can get this lap in. I don't think that would have just cancelled out his lap. It looked like he got a little bit wide. Yeah, must have. He's just given up on this lap. Last laps, last corner here for Terex. It's currently sitting in 6th. Can he steal pole position? He's come flying around that bend. No, he hasn't changed position. Kakadu also following up. And there we have it. Qualifying session is complete. Once that loads up, so we have Rooney 9915 starting from pole position with a 116.259. Followed by him is 0143 in second, Colby in third, Gallen in 4th. So very tight times throughout the field. We have Fritz Skinner showing as qualifying 14th. He has that one grid place penalty, so that will see him move down into 15th. And then Simo Simpson moves up into starting from 14th. Will qualified in 16th, so that one grid place penalty doesn't affect him there. So unfortunate for him not to be able to move up a little bit more to compensate for that penalty. So we'll head over into the race ready room now. Drivers will have a couple of minutes just to get their settings all changed over for the race, making sure they have correct fuel loads. And then a lot of drivers tend to close off all the aero for qualifying setups, as it will give the car a lot better aerodynamics and get a little bit more speed, but it does overheat tyres, brakes and the engine as well. So for a race they will actually cook the engine. We don't have mechanical failures set for the game, however it is performance impacting, so they can't completely kill the car, but once they start copying some engine damage it will actually lose significant amount of power to that motor. Looks like we've dropped our chat server. Try and get it loaded up again. There we go. If you're joining us, let us know who you think is going to win this race. You had Rooney with a double win, I think it was in the first opening round. We missed him last week. Can he do it again tonight? Drivers will need to make sure they hit that ready button before the 2-minute countdown stops, otherwise they will be disconnected or disqualified, should I say, over into pit lane. And they won't get any points for the race. Once all drivers have hit that ready, we'll sync up, and here we are. They're all ready now. Definitely no jump starts here. Rooney is edging that car, same with Azuro. I think Azuro is going to get him off one. No, they're both away at the same time. There is a few darting around midfield. Looks like Bertie's gotten away to a nice start, taking a couple of positions. Rooney manages to get on line, but Azuro is fighting for that inside line to try and get a pass around Rooney on the first corners. Rooney's getting away rather quickly. Oh, and Azuro's going to go for an inside line pass. Oh, that is a very tight manoeuvre. He's just pulled that back in line just in front of Rooney. And then that's also put him off line to now have Gallen and Corby coming up quite close behind Rooney. Azuro is starting to get away quite quickly. Rooney has run off wide just a little bit. That's cost him, but Gallen isn't hot on his tail at the moment. So both Azuro and Rooney getting away. Clean start to the race so far by the looks of things. Getting a race feed, so hopefully we haven't missed out on too much action from the back of the field. Azuro's now put half a second over Rooney. So that is a very fast first lap, already putting on almost a second over Rooney, and then Gallen's at 1.5 seconds off the pace from there. So we've got Rooney also pulling away. Gallen starting to space out a little bit. Also Corby is spacing out a little bit as well. We have Kakadu honing in on Weaven, and Weaven is quickly catching up to Corby. Corby runs off wide, costing it a little bit of time, but it did balk Weaven. Corby a little bit off put, so he's a little offline on that inside line, choosing to block Weaven. This is coming to the start of Sector 2, so this is where we'll see a lot of passes for those that get a nice line out of that last corner of Sector 1. And then it opens you up for that bend at the bottom of the hill. Zero's getting well ahead of Rooney at the moment as well. He's now 7 seconds behind. I think Weaven may have a chance at cracking Corby. He's got a much faster line through that last bend. Slipstream advantage, slingshots around, but he's going to have to be on the brakes a lot early as he comes into turn 1. He forces just in front of Corby. That was a nice pass by Weaven. Corby's not giving up. He almost went to duck out and weave around for a second attempt at... That was a very tricky corner to try and take that inside line, as you have to shave off a lot of speed and potentially miss the next 2 corners. Weaven starting to get ahead of Corby now. We'll have a look towards the back of the field, so the drivers here are all very tight as well. So we have battles throughout the field. Over to Rooney once we can finally catch up with the cameraman. He doesn't know where Rooney's car is currently. He has quickly caught up to a Zero. I'm not sure if a mistake was made by a Zero. These two are driving very quickly. Different lines taken by the two coming into that last corner. Quite interesting. Zero looking to break stream. Rooney taking a different line coming up, almost taking himself away from the stream. I'm not sure if that's to try and break it with Gallen. Maybe what he's intending there. Now we're getting some weird timings come through at the moment. Rooney's just jumped from negative 100 to a minute behind the race leader now to only less than half a second. It only happens when cars go into the pits. Ooh, and it's when, sorry, Rooney gets that back left tyre off track. That's put him off pace, but much quicker through that corner. A Zero blocking him. Rooney's not going to have a chance to get around him just yet. He wasn't in a good position to try and make an outside path. We've got Zero making several blocks. He's not letting Rooney have a chance at getting around. This will be the opportunity here. We saw them take a different line last lap around. Rooney needs to sit right on his tail. He's probably already swung out a little bit too early. Going up that hill, you don't want to break the stream. You want to sit right behind, as you lose power going up that hill. It is quite an incline. Oh, an inside pass by Rooney. It's not enough. The 2x on the first bends. Oh, and then a Zero almost goes off and barrels into Rooney's car. A Zero still trying to take another pass. And that's where we saw a Zero make that nice pass just before. Can Rooney now get ahead? Sure what's going on with a Zero. Don't know if that was an oversteer issue happening with him. Lights are off. Not sure if they're playing games with each other at the moment. Zero ran rather wide on that corner, lost a lot of speed. That's now allowed Rooney to get ahead by 1.6 seconds. Gallen now looking to have a hot crack at getting past the Zero. Zero showing some very good defensive moves earlier. We have Gallen honing in a Zero. I think we're going to see a big mistake made by a Zero. I think we could potentially see Gallen get around. Zero pretty quick through the chicanes here. Nice line by Gallen. You need to hit rib to rib to get a beautiful line through there. A Zero much quicker than Gallen at this stage getting through. Don't forget, if you're here for our stream, use those sound effects down below. Give a cheer to your favourite drivers. And Cameron catches up. Nice as we're getting sector data for this, as there is some definite improvements for different drivers over different sectors. Oh, Zero's run a much tighter line. Gallen needs to stay behind him before he gets to the lip here and then slingshot over the lip. Not enough for Zero, had a lot more pace. It'll be interesting to see just how they've gone for fuel loads. So we have Gallen sitting with 24.4 litres and Zero about 5 litres lighter. Oh, and a little bit of slip. Oh, Gallen's run wide. That's an opportunity now for Weaven to get past. Oh, and it looks like we've just had Sweatridge spinning out at the back. He's recovered that. I think it was just a bit of a slide that he has recovered. Timo Simpson looks like to have taken a time infringement penalty, exceeding track limits. It takes a while for switching camera views on this track. It's quite interesting. Shot as they go flying past the apex of that corner. Weaven 777 making a move on Gallen. That is a nice pass. He had much quicker pace going through that last bend. Gallen's lost 2 positions from that. I'm not sure what's going on with Gallen's car at the moment. He's just run off wide again, and he's also received a time slowdown penalty. He's seen Weaven, Corby and Kakadu take a position. He's just lost 3 spots. And then we have T-Rex honing on him rather quickly. I'm not sure if he's taken damage or what's going on for Gallen. He's gone off track again. Really struggling with the car at the moment. We saw some good pace from him in practice and qualifying. Bit of weaving going on between these 3 cars. Not sure if they're just getting out of blind spots and back in, just to make them not be sure which way you're going to go. Put some pressure on them. Become a bit of a pest in the mirror. If you can force an error and get around, that is a benefit. Okay, race leader Rooney showing some damage, so that front bar flapping like that's going to cost him a lot on the straights. Oh, and he's made a little bit of a rub with Weaven. Weaven gets around relatively cleanly in the end. Corby also just having to get out of the way. Rooney's car will be struggling with the front aero damage. This is going to cost him many positions. We've got our first 5 drivers last lap setting 119s. Rooney's just set a 121. Oh, Weaven's just gone off track. He's recovered. He's still managed to keep sec. No, he's just lost that position. Rooney's reclaimed that, but these other drivers, yeah, much quicker pace. Oh, this is going to be dangerous here. Rooney well offline for this corner. He's just lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 positions. Sweatridge gets around him. Oh no, and I think for Sweatridge making that pass, it may tell him to relinquish that position back, as he did have to run off track to avoid collision. However, when doing so, usually the game tells you to give the position back. But if Rooney was already off track at the time as that happened, that may not occur. But 0 laps and 3 laps to go. He's now leading by 2.5 seconds. Minute 13, suddenly the game decides to show. However, it's only 2.5 seconds. And Weaven is quickly closing that gap in, actually. He's just brought that down by another half a second. Corby, Kakadu and T-Rex all honing in pretty quickly on each other. Not sure what's going on with Gallon. He's falling behind. Oh, and I think, I don't know if that's Rooney's car. Yeah, Rooney's really struggling with his car at the moment. Demon Effects is going to have to try and get around him nice and safe here. Oh no, this could be a risky spot to try and get around him. Rooney's struggling with his car. There's no point bringing the car into the pits. As long as he doesn't spin back on track. That could have ended badly for Demon Effects. He gets around nice and clean. Rooney's going to drop positions very quickly at this rate, but not to the extent that we're going to have if he has to bring that car into the pits. You know, he doesn't want to bin this car and take out someone else in the race, as that will cost him more, as it could potentially be a penalty situation. We did have to drop the hammer for penalties last week. There was penalties galore. Gallon starting to recover a little bit. He's now putting some pressure onto T-Rex. T-Rex quickly closing in on Kakadu as well. So for the first race we had 78 points in penalties given out. In the second race last week, 48. It's been a while since penalties had to be given out. It's been a lot of racing since it's been the cause of lag. Drivers do need to be very cautious about the difference in the drive. Oh, T-Rex gets a little bit broad going around that corner, on the throttle a little bit too early. Nice fast line through the last corner. Weaven is closing that gap in on the Zero. He's only a second behind now. He's lap 12. Corby's a fair bit behind now as well. It's another 1.5 seconds behind Weaven. And there's about nearly 4 seconds between third and fourth. Kakadu following behind Corby by 4 seconds. Oh, that car gets up on two wheels as he hits that curb. A very nice line for Weaven. These cars basically just bounce two wheels to the other two wheels through that chicane. We've seen some very brilliant driving by Weaven in this series. He's become a master of the V8 Supercar. He's been with us for most of our broadcasts over the time. You will see just how far all our drivers have come. The skill levels and sportsmanship shown on the track is absolutely spectacular. It is very enjoyable to run this with Apex eSports League. They are a very nice bunch of blokes to race with and also get to watch and commentate with. So be sure to get involved, head over to our page, follow, see how these guys are going in the championship, get up-to-date results. Also check out our Android app if you have an Android phone. Look up Apex eSports League, you'll see our logo. Oh, Weaven's right on the tail of a Zero, and that's now allowed Corby to catch up as well. There was some rubbing, I think, going on, and there's another nudge there by Corby. Corby gives Weaven a touch, and oh, we've just had, I'm not sure if that's Mersey Blue. I think that may be Mersey's car. He's sitting there just waiting, maybe whacked wheel, I'm not sure. I think that may be whacked wheel's car. So it's the last lap. Can these guys get around? Zero weaving all over the place, braking. We've got Corby looking at going for an inside pass to get around Weaven. This is the last corners. They're on 3 different lines, weaving side to side. I think Weaven's going to get it. This could be a photo finish. Won't be enough to get past. I think a Zero marginally holds it. That is tight. That is very tight. The AR takes over the free and then they squeeze through. So that is .026 seconds of a difference between the drivers, and they're still showing time frames up for that. So race complete. Azuro in first, Weaver in second, Corby in third. That was a blistering finish by our top three. Kekadu in fourth, he's across the line. Terex in fifth, Sweat Ridge in sixth. I think, yes, they've gone across the line. Gallen in seventh, Eamon Effects in eighth. Yes, all these guys have gone across. Who hasn't come across the line yet? All of them have, I think. Fritz coming up, 30 seconds for last laps. But Wheeler coming up for that. There's 25 seconds to get across the line. But Wheeler in 14th, and there we have it. Results for the sprint race. That was phenomenal last lap, just in that last bend and on the final straight. So time difference, 0.020 between first and second. They were side by side. There was nothing in that at all. They were so close. So well done to Azuro, taking a win. Also on the podium, Weaven 777 in second position and Corby 387 in third. So we'll have a look through and just see who's got the fastest lap. So it looks like it's a 1:17. I think a 1:17.427 by Weaven is going to be the fastest time. Yes, that is the fastest time. So Rooney having to retire, so he brought that car out. We didn't notice him retire. It's unfortunate for him with the problems he was having with that car after losing that front bar. So with what we just saw then, it'll be some very exciting stuff for the main race. Don't go away. We'll be back after an 8-minute break, so we'll leave you with some advertisements for our sponsor for Lake Edge holiday units. So near Ulladulla down at Burrell Lake. So be sure to check out their website. There's the link in the screen there. You'll see down below, and then we'll see some fantastic photos of just how it looks over at their accommodation. So if you're down that way, be sure to get in and stay there and enjoy yourself. So we'll be back soon. Don't go away. We'll be back for session 2 after about 8 minutes. And we are back for the second session for round 3 of the Lake Edge V8 Supercar Championship for Apex eSports League on Project Cars 2 for PS4. So as if you were just with us for the first session, we had a photo finish with a 0 and Weaven. Nothing to it between the two. Coming across the finish line with Corby right up behind. Guys, we're just joking that Corby could have almost given Weaven a bump and almost pushed him ahead to have claimed the win. So that close, those three, so it was very exciting. Drivers saying that the 13 laps was quite exhausting, so they are really working for getting this V8 Supercar around the track. Drivers will now be adjusting all their setups, ready for qualifying session. If you're joining us for the stream, be sure to hit that follow button if you haven't done so already, and also join in on the chat. We'd be happy to have you join in and let us know who you think is going to take pole position. We saw Rooney take pole position in the first qualifying session for tonight. And 0 was in second and they came off to a flying start. We saw Rooney take some damage later on and started losing a lot of positions. And talking to the drivers in the lobby in between, Gallen ended up getting a slowdown, which he did actually back off for. So that's what we saw him lose several positions to. And then he still got the time second penalty given to him despite the slowdown, so it probably would have been better for him just to have not obeyed it and just worn the time second penalty. This track is quite unforgiving for exceeding track limits. And then the drivers doing a fair bit of fast driving. So if you're a little bit off pace going through sector 1 and you happen to exceed track limits a little bit, since a lot of drivers are a little bit slower through that section, the track will usually allow them to have that actually disappear without actually having to slow down their speed too much as the pace is a little bit off. However, the speed these guys are doing through sectors 2 and 3, oh no, and Vert Wheelers has copped a time infringement penalty, so that's a 1 grease penalty given to Vert Wheeler for speeding in the pits. To see if it is only one, you can see all of them. Yes, only one. I have to scroll through on my screen as I am seeing different to what the broadcast is showing. I get a whole bunch of extra bits and bobs all over my screen. Yet again, forget to switch over to our race broadcast screen. As you can see, this series is actually being kindly sponsored by Lake Edge Holiday Units, Burrell Lake. You would have just seen in the break some lovely photos of what you can expect to see if you were to go and visit them down at Burrell Lake. And they are obviously motorsport fans as well to get involved with sponsoring Apex eSports League for the series. So there's sponsorships helped be able to get the prize for the series. So a V8 Supercar Champion Coffee Cup is up for grabs for the champion of this series. And at the moment so the championship is being led by Gallen 350 with 202 points, 0143 is 192 points, and then Weaving 777 is 182 points. Fastest time off the board is Mr. D-Train, so coming in with a 118.9. We saw 117s coming in pretty quickly. Weather conditions are different at the moment. Game time is 1 PM. So ambient temperature will be up, and then weather will progress from medium cloud to light cloud. Track temperatures will be higher than that of the first qualifying session. And then as the game progresses to the light clouds. That could come in pretty early. It could come in the first 5 minutes. It could be in the last 5 minutes. When the game is synced to a race for the weather, it's a little bit random. You don't have it synced, it just basically divides it up evenly, depending on how many weather slots you have set for the session. So it makes it a little bit more interesting and a lot more realistic for the drivers. It would be nice just to be able to actually try and have it a little bit more realistic by having random weather conditions. However, you can get all sorts of things from severe thunderstorms that, you know, most cars you cannot just drive in this game in those conditions. So to avoid that, I usually try and just do a mix of weather conditions for them just to make things interesting, and have been very kind and not given any rain for this series. It's usually not welcomed for the wet races. Oh, Rooney having some issues with the car. That'll invalidate his lap. It looks like Fritz Iskenia giving him some space. Or is that Demon FX? No, if that was Fritz's, so he's in the much more yellow car, I think, is the difference between these guys. Yes. So the deeper yellow is Fritz in car 91, I think, or is a bit hard to tell. It's a little bit blurry. But don't forget to use those sound controls on the stream. You can play it over, you will hear it, and then the stream will keep that. I can see what you do with those. Be sure to get involved in the chat. Terex doing quite nicely at the moment. Also 118. Rooney's come through for 116. That's very quick. So he's brought that car back in. Weaven's brought the car off. He's going to bring that back into the pits too by the looks of things. Not sure what's going on there. Don't forget to hit that follow button. Help Apex eSports League grow. Don't forget we do have the app as well, so if you want to keep up to date with what events are going on, have results all at your fingertips, and all our streams as well, that is all there. That's available for free on the Android App Store. Search for Apex eSports League and that will be there. And there's also chat rooms, so you can get involved in chats with drivers and other people who may just be there to watch our streams and not actually participate. That's all welcome as well. And the main race is 25 laps. Drivers were commenting if we could just have another 13 lap sprint, as it was quite tiring for them. So they are working hard to try and push the times that they were doing. They were some very quick times. A little bit of difference between the back end of the field, getting some slower laps, not off to a good pace at this stage yet, but there is 6 minutes remaining to get a couple of good laps in. But Wheeler doing alright, currently sitting in 11th position, but he does have that one grid place penalty, so if he can try and move up a few more positions, that will be beneficial to him. I think we saw a 0 take pole with a 116 in the first session. Aussie Blues taking it easy going up through there. Bring those in. I'm not sure if he's going to be changing some tyres or if he's just doing a pit lane practice. So as you can see, not many pit stalls. He's very short, and as I was mentioning before in the first session, I'm sure what he's doing is just doing a drive-through by the looks of things. So drivers will need to be aware of who will be sharing their pit bay. We have Rooney and Sweatridge in team cars, so they will need to be wary. I think Weaven is pretty safe with his car, so he should not have to share a pit bay. Same with Azuro as well. So Trex and D-Train are in matching cars. Demon Effects is going to be pretty fine, same with Fritz Escania. Kakadu and Gallon are sharing teams. I mean, Mersey Blue has usually been on his own, but we have Whacked Will in matching colours for him. Bertie is on his own as well, I think. Yes, so no one is matching with him. I think Vert will as well, but he's in the pit, so there we go. Yes, so I don't think anyone is matching his car scheme. Up on the jack, same with Simo. Skiddy and Corby are in matching cars, so they will need to be cautious. Skiddy is a regular for Apex Esports League. We missed him a few times in a few different rounds. It's good to see him be able to make it for round 3. So we're missing a couple others from last week, which is Barbie E50 and TL Mayhem. So they had to go on the reserve list for the race. Barbie having to drop out just before the first session started, so a very big thank you to Barbie E50 for doing that, making way for our regular drivers. If we continue to get a large field for some of our series, we may look at doing second divisions. So Wackwheel showing a bit of damage to his car at the moment. We saw him spin out in the first race tonight. A couple of the other rounds, I think we missed him last week. I don't think he was able to make it. So we didn't have Whacked Wheel. For the first race we only had 14 drivers, so a couple had to pull out. They are back for this week. Rooney currently still holding fastest lap 1:16.636 side by side. I think that is Sweatridge's car, maybe Rooney's. But he's just gone off track. He's just had his times invalidated. It's Rooney's car. Oh, that's a big slide, big hit. That's going to have done it for him. There's not going to be another chance for him to get out and get another lap. Same with Gallon. Oh, and actually he could get out quickly if they get out of the pit lanes very fast. They could still get a lap in time. It'll be probably 1:20 or so, 1:25 to get out. Then they can have one hot lap. So this is an opportunity for Corby to steal pole position. He does do it. We haven't seen him do it for quite a while, where he steals pole position on the last lap. He had Rooney do it last session. He has not had an improvement. It sounds like someone's gone off in here. Someone revving up. Oh, a big slide. He's good quick pace through there. This could be a definite fast lap for Corby. Bit of debris scattered through the chicane. We saw some nice moves made on that section by Azuro in the first race, all a little bit offline. That's going to cost him probably a quarter of a second. It's still recoverable if he's on par. We should get sector data now. Maybe not. There's 20 seconds left of qualifying. The last lap for Corby. 0.271. This isn't going to be enough to take pole position, but he can definitely get second. The gallon's going back out. That's going to be enough time for him to get a lap in. So I think Corby will move up to second position. Yes, he takes second position on the last lap. Kakadu and Whacked Will following behind. No improvements for them. Mersey Blue. I think that may be Skiddy. That'd be Skiddy. That's going to be an advantage here for Mersey Blue. Getting the draft on the last lap. Will that make an improvement for him? Move from 11th. No position change. The AI now taking control of their cars. Bertie, does he make an improvement? No, someone's doing a burnout at the pits. I think that may be Kakadu actually. No, it'd be Gallon. Usually Gallon doing burnouts. He probably just got the car out just to do a burnout. Can Simo gain an extra position? Oh, did he get across the line before that contact though? I don't think so. And he could have been on a very good lap for that. So that is a drastic hit. That is a huge hit. Yes, he didn't get across the line, so he had blocked it. That is unfortunate. Hopefully he was not on a good hot lap for that. That is very unfortunate. And then we have qualifying results for Session 2 of Round 3 of the Lake Edge V8 Supercar Championship. Qualifying at the front in the pole position is Rooney 9915. Starting in second position is Corby 387. Gallon 350 in third, followed by Demon FX, Weaven, Zero, T-Rex and D-Train starting at the front half of the field. So we've got Vert Wheeler starting with a 2 grid place penalty. So that will see him drop back a couple of positions. So I've got to drop my screen all the way back down. So Vert Wheeler will be starting from 15th. So let's see, Simo Sims will move up into 14th and skid into 15th. And then Whackbill starting in 16th position. So very tight times for the sectors. There is a little bit of movement. Sector 2 is basically less than a second between all of it, so it'll be very interesting. Sector 1 and Sector 3 showing a bit of variation. We saw Sector 1 with a fair bit of variation in the first session, where Sector 3 was pretty tight, and there's a little bit of a difference there, so it'll be interesting to see how things go for the race. With the first race is anything to go by, it will be exciting. So over to the race ready room for the drivers. Now got a couple of minutes to get their cars ready. They must make sure they set a pit strategy and have all the settings already adjusted. Hopefully I've already done that in the practice and qualifying sessions. A lot of complaints from drivers. Oh, we've just had someone drop out, I think. I'm not sure who it is that we have lost. I'll jump in board on cockpit. It usually shows once we bring up some stuff. Skiddy has managed to drop out. That is unfortunate. So it could have been an opportunity to get one of our reserve drivers in, but it's too late for them to join now. That's 15 cars. Hopefully no one disconnects or doesn't hit that ready button and ends up being disqualified. A lot of drivers do complain about where we have to see them going to the pits multiple times in the race, because they end up going in there and coming out and they haven't had tyres changed. So having their setups must be accurate if they have only changed recommended tyres. The game one usually won't change them, even though they're almost scrubbed down to nothing. You have to make sure it's set to change all, and make sure you have saved it all correctly, and then after you've set that as your default strategy, you do have to make sure that you reset that, as usually if you've set it in the practice and qualifying session, as you come to the race it will revert back to something else. So it's sinking, a lot of revving. Here we go, countdown, 3, 2, 1, and away we go. Oh, there's a little bit of a early start from Corby. I'm not sure if that's going to be a jump start, but Rooney gets away in time. There's a little bit of movement in the backfield. Weaven and Azuro is side by side, coming in out of turn 1. Rooney getting away quite nicely. Corby holding quite tight behind, a little bit of a gap now between him and Gallen. Oh, and then Corby has gone off a little bit wide, and that's put a little bit of a difference. We're getting all sorts of time variations at the moment. That's almost a second that Rooney has put over Corby already. So a clean start. There is a whole line of cars going all the way down the back straight. It's good to see some very tidy racing off the start, especially coming into such a fast bend on turn 1. It's what we like to see. And he's now furthering that lead by a second. He's really pacing off. Did see Rooney end up with some bad luck after taking some aero damage after a few laps, and seeing him just lose positions, as it is crucial to ensure these cars' aero are perfect for this track. That will keep them through the fast bends, and then also ensure you get that nice run going up the hill onto pit straight. We got Gallen closing in on Corby. Looks pretty tidy still throughout the field. Pretty much a similar start to the first race. And Corby slightly running wide, that cost him a little bit of time. So now we have to lose sight when basically he was just in front of the car we were just looking at. Nice line for Corby. Good exit speed, bringing him into these nice fast corners. Going to have a nice speed advantage and possibly catch up. He's struggling to try and break through that 1 second mark. As he gets to about 0.8 of a second, he quickly slips back to that 1 second mark. We saw differences in Sector 1 and Sector 3 compared to last session in the qualifying. So seeing that here at the moment in the opening laps, which is a little bit different. So we saw a lot of good pace being done in Sector 1 by a couple of drivers, and there's already a bit of debris scattered across the track on the entry to that chicane. It is going to be a little bit risky coming into there flat out, especially if you're going to have to get offline. They're going to have to be cautious they don't get that back spinning out under throttle. So a little bit of space there at the moment. We'll check through the rest of the field. So the splits between these guys are looking pretty tight. Trex honing in on Demon FX. A little bit to catch up on him just yet. So we have Fritziskin and Bertie less than a second between each other. Bertie and D-Train is also just under half a second as well. A little bit of space going on at the moment. Mersey Blue has fallen behind. It looks like he's got a fair bit of damage. I'm not sure if he's taken a hit from someone or if he's just spun off and taken damage. See the extent of his car. So it's heavy front end damage. That's going to cost him over the course of the race, so he may want to consider getting that into the pits quite quickly. Azuro has slipped back into 10th position. Bertie and Fritz Iskenya and Azuro all sitting close. So Fritz looking to get past Bertie at this stage. A little bit, he's weaving, looking for a line. Oh, it's a risky spot to try and make a pass, but forced an error on Bertie. That's cost Fritz as he was right up behind him and had to sit there. Rooney's just copped a slow down penalty. He's still just, yes, so he must have slowed down for that penalty, but still copped it. But that's allowed Corby to take the race lead. Rooney may have just wanted to have taken that penalty and not worried about the slowdown. It's cost him many positions from slowdowns. That is what we saw happen with Gallen 350 in the first race tonight. Welcome JK Gamer, good to see you again for the stream. Thanks for using the sound effects as well. Mersey Blues also copped a penalty. And being a slowdown, I'm not sure what's going on. He hasn't brought the car, will he go into the pits? He's probably going to hold off. We've got someone going in the pits. It looks like Vert Wheeler heading in. We shall wait for it to catch up onto Corby. Nice cackle as he shifts down into second, going around that bend after the back straight. Blackwell is in for repairs by the looks of things. So he's taken a fair bit of damage. I'm not sure if he was involved with Mersey. I'm not quite sure. That'll give a chance for Kakadu and Mersey to catch up. Kakadu's now past. Mersey Blue's a little bit further behind. He can recover a position from this. Rennie trying to catch back up on Corby. Zero's coming back by a couple of positions. He's now back into 8th position. We did just see him before. Oh no, he's just dropped back down to 10th. Oh no, I think he's disconnected. Yes, a Zero. That is some lag issues going on for a Zero. That might have been what happened before. We'll see a disconnect come up most likely for a Zero. That's unfortunate for him. Still maintaining his position. I'm wondering if that car's still there. No, it's moving again, so I'm not sure. No, there he goes, off into the blue abyss for Zero. I'm getting a different screen than to what you were seeing then. I was seeing a blue abyss. Usually the cars end up at the top of the map. I don't even know why the game renders that high. Basically it's like a satellite feed and you can see for miles around either side. It's really odd, but we've lost 2. So Skitty disconnected just before. Now we've lost a Zero to disconnect. A little bit of time between these two guys at the moment. Demon Effects showing some rear panel damage. That boot's been buckled. It hasn't affected his rear downforce too much. He should be able to manage reasonable times on those really fast bends, as that rear downforce is what's going to hold the car through those corners, unless you can handle a fair bit of slip through the corners. So examples of that, if you did watch the Bathurst shootout, Scott McLaughlin opted to change his car setup so he doesn't have a lot of rear downforce for that shootout lap, because he can handle the car with a fair bit of slip going through the faster corners. So he drops that aero so that he can get a little bit of a faster speed out of the car at the cost of performance around the corners. But if you can't get the car under control, it can be potentially dangerous and you will lose the car through those fast bends. Rex is really trying to catch some ground on Demon Effects. Demon Effects is holding back. We saw some brilliant driving by Demon Effects last week in the night stint. He was just carving up positions. T-Rex getting a little bit impatient there, doing some weaving, trying to put a bit of a balk on him and try and force an error. And then Rooney is now caught back up to Corby. Rooney was doing very well in the first race tonight, but after taking some damage to that front end, cost him lots of positions. He just could not keep pace with the car, and then going into those sharper corners, the car did just not hold line. But can we see a better stint for Rooney without taking damage? Rooney did manage to take a lead in the championship after round 1, but did miss round 2. So that allowed Gallen 350, a 0-143. Weaven, Corby, T-Rex and Fritz all to get ahead. So he's leading straight up with 104 points, so it was a very nice lead. So then missing round 2, still Gallen shoot ahead by doubling his points essentially. So these two definitely fighting. Corby a little bit quicker coming up to the approach for the end of Sector 1. So on to the back straight Sector 2. Almost looked like Rooney is potentially going to go for an inside line. You don't want to be doing that. You need to tuck behind, get in line for some good pace between these corners. There's not many passing opportunities. And if you can hold some good speed coming around this bend and get a nice line out, you can absolutely fly up this hill. Very crucial on this track, especially in a lot of the lighter cars that don't have a lot of power. If you don't get that nice exit speed to come onto that pitch straight, you lose out a lot. Looking like a little bit of oversteer issue. And welcome to the stream, Skitty. We just saw your message come through, getting disconnected. We've also lost a 0 as well, so there was some latency issues going on with the 0. So we're down 2. These guys are starting to space out a little bit. T-Rex got around Demon Effects, but Demon Effects is still closing in. Trying to switch between Gallen 350, starting to close in on Rooney. Oh, there's a little bit of a gap. We'll bring up just see what the time penalty is. Rooney's taken a 3-second time penalty. So 10 laps in, almost halfway there. If drivers keep around the same pace and finishing, a 3-second time penalty at this stage, crossing the line would see Gallen claim a position over Rooney. If you're joining us for the stream and haven't yet hit that follow button, make sure you do. I'd say thank you to all our current followers. Oh, and that looks like Whack Wheels taken a big hit. There's a lot of damage to his car, so he's missing the bonnet. Yes, a big thank you to our followers. So over the course of our streams, we've now reached our milestone of 50 followers. So very excited to have done that. And Gallen is still trying to close that gap on Rooney. Demon Effects and T-Rex still looking to fight for position 5. Both seem to just be going a little bit more cautiously. It's very different lines. T-Rex went a lot more wide through that corner. There was a bit of a jar. I'm not sure if that was a steering correction or a bit of a latency issue. here we go. So first pits. So it looks like Vert Wheeler's car, I think, in the pits. Yes, that's Vert Wheeler's. So Rooney has gone in, so that's allowed Corby and Gallen to get ahead. Don't forget to join in on the chat. We'd like to see everyone get involved with the chat. Let us know who you think's going to win the race. Let us know who you think's going to win the championship and potentially take the V8 Supercar Champion Coffee Cup, proudly sponsored by Lake Edge Holiday Units. I'd like to thank Lake Edge Holiday Units for sponsoring this series. It's a big help to cover costs for prizes and things like that. Going a little bit behind Corby. Corby a little bit safe at the moment. Let's see. We've been seeing, oh, we've just lost another car. Not sure who that is. It's just disconnected. We'll bring that up. We have to get on board with someone to actually see that on my screen. You can probably see it. They haven't disconnected, so they have either been disqualified or retired. Not sure who it was. I think we've lost Sweat Ridge, potentially. Not sure. So we're 13 laps in. This is the amount of laps we had in the first race, and drivers were mentioning they were feeling quite fatigued at the end of the 13 laps. They were fighting these cars through with amazing pace. We're seeing about 7 seconds difference. Rooney, sorry, no more. So I've been seeing race pace of about 119. Rooney's just done a 148 lap time. So seeing just about 30 seconds for a pit stop. I'm not sure if that was damage that he was having to tend to. That could have increased a little bit. It is only a short pit lane, so we shouldn't see too much. Should be only about 20-25 seconds, I would assume. Simo Simsel also in the pits. Corby ducking in now. They need to shave that speed off very quickly coming into the pits. Just for the cones. He's done that nicely. So Simo's still in there for a while. Vert Wheeler's been in there for a while, so we did see him with some damage. He was missing that front bonnet. Gallen has dropped down. I'm not sure if we saw him. Yes, we did see him. He has done his mandatory pits. That's been served. So it's his opportunity to get ahead. We need to see Birdie. Birdie lets him through. Birdie's probably going to peel off into the pits now anyway. Will he duck over to that line? Yes, he's going off, so that's why he let him through. And then it follows Weaven. We haven't seen him in the pits, I don't think, yet. So Terex now becomes the race leader. He does have to head into the pits though as well. Hopefully drivers have their pit strategies work well for them. The game does like to glitch occasionally, but it is easily done to make an error in your pit strategy setups. Many a time we've seen drivers had to go back in 2 or 3 times to try and get the tyres changed. Especially when drivers switch between different groups that they race with as well, so Terex peeling off into the pits. Mr. D-Train will now probably not going to want to follow suit as Terex is in matching colours, so that could see him have to wait. So you want to stay out for a lap. Yes, good decision. They won't have to waste time waiting for a pit stop. So that allows Rooney to start recovering his ground. Same as Corby and Gallen all moving back up to the front end of the race. So Corby, a bit of a lead change. The pits, costing a little bit of time and a position. So Simo Simsel looks like having a car backing up. So yes, some back markers at the moment. Simo's in 10th. It looks like Gallen. Yes, it's Gallen. We are focused on him. It's got his name at the top. It should have been obvious for me. Simo gets out of the way for Gallen. Nice clean pass. Weaving also catching up. A few time penalties across the board. We'll bring up and see just what they are. They're all just slowdowns. They wouldn't be ones for the pit speeding. D-Train now peeling in. As I was mentioning in the first session, drivers had to be aware of who their teammates are and then who is in the pits at the same time, as they didn't want to have to be sharing a spot. We saw Gallen lose about 20 seconds in a pit stop as him and Kakadu both went in at the same time, practically stopped at the exact same time, but they could only service one car. Rooney now has good lead on the race. Nearly 3.5 seconds separates him and Corby in position 2. Gallen a couple of seconds behind Corby in 3rd position. So we're 16 laps into the race. 9 laps remain. Not a lot of difference through the field as such. Would be exciting if we can see another intense finish in that last half a lap that we saw Corby, Azuro and Weaven fighting for the lead. Not often that we've seen a photo finish like that. That was very exciting stuff indeed. And Demon FX and T-Rex competing for 5th position again. Different lines as they come onto the straight. Much quicker line by Demon Effects. I don't think it's going to be enough to get around. He's going to have a good slipstream advantage. That's not going to put him in a nice position to make a pass just yet. He's going to have to hold that position just a little bit longer. It's in force and error. Vert Wheel has just run off wide. He's just come back on reasonably okay. Very different choice in lines. I think T-Rex was defending that different line for the corner. I think he was contemplating that Demon would make a move. And lost that little bit of pace now from T-Rex. Rooney furthering that lead now. 3 seconds. Over Corby and Gallen, last laps set were 1:17s, and Rooney was an only 1:18.5. There's about a second's difference. So over the course of the next few laps, if they keep that pace up, they could definitely be sitting right in the rear mirror of Rooney and put some pressure on him for sure. And we're getting spam in the Twitch chat. Thanks for joining, but we're not interested, I'm afraid. So I'll bring up some timings while there's a little bit of spacing between, just see who's got the fastest lap. So it looks like a 1:17.4 is the fastest, and that's by Corby. Yes, that's by Corby. Corby in with a good shot, and Rooney does have a time penalty, so I've gone all the way down. So he has 3-second time penalty, and Wheaton's a 1 second. So Corby can try and close that gap in, and he could just sit behind Rooney the entire time, and then take the win away from him just by way of time penalty. You don't have to try and push too hard for a pass. You can sort of sit back and then pick his opportunity. He doesn't have to get more aggressive and take a risky move to try and steal that away from him. Demon Effects and T-Rex still keeping it nice and tight, so they're the closest time gap between the drivers at the moment. Bit of spacing. Ninth position on is a minute behind. Timo going off track, allowing these guys through. Different lines taken here again. It may not be defensive lines, they might just be very different driving style. And that makes all the difference too. Being custom setups and the drivers having full control of the cars, despite a lot of them do share setups to try and help each other out. But in saying that, what works for one driver doesn't mean it'll work for you. Ooh, a little bit of oversteer as he comes into that exit point of the corner. That's just cost him a bit of speed coming down this back straight. Simo Simsel catching up pretty quickly. He had a lot of draft coming off that. He came into that corner very quickly. So, sporting a bit of damage, but he has been in the pits, so it's probably been repaired. Keeping an eye on the times, so probably still the 3-second mark difference. We're getting all weird things coming up on the screen at the moment. Don't know if it shows on the broadcast screen, but on mine I'm getting all sorts of weird things. Thanks for joining us, Latte Spice. Yes, I think Go Demon for sure. He's putting in a good fight for T-Rex. Hoping he can do some of the fantastic driving that we saw him do last week in round 2. He was picking off cars rather quickly at Dubai. And he's been up some very good pace through this as well. So there's 5 laps remaining. T-Rex really holding Demon off at this stage. Corby's now slipped back to 4.5 seconds behind Rooney. Rooney is flying ahead. Which Rooney needs to do, as he has that 3-second time penalty, and depending on how much he's pushing it as well, that could add more to it. So yeah, still only 3 seconds remains. He needs to keep Corby at bay by at least 3 seconds. With only 4 laps to go. He is a second quicker than Corby at the moment, so that can be a possibility. One mistake though will see him definitely relinquish that position to Corby by way of penalties. Rooney losing a little bit of grip coming out over that rib. It can be quite risky doing that as well. You can go into a big spin. We've seen a couple of cars spin out in the practice sessions on that bend. There's usually a lot of cars that do get a wheel off on that section, so a lot of marbling gets left on the track. Can't see too much glistening on the track in other spots, so it's been relatively clean for the drivers, but Corby's now 4 seconds behind. And it looks like Demon has made a mistake. He's fallen behind. T-Rex now putting quite a lead on him, so now putting 5 seconds over him. So a fair bit of spacing now. Gallon's 2 seconds behind, position 3 with Weaven 777. Weaven has a second time penalty. Gallon's focus now to try and get on the podium is to also do what Corby needs to do to try and steal that position away by time penalty. He can get nice and close. Fair bit of red on the results board at the moment. I don't think we will be getting a photo finish like we saw in the first race. Ooh, a little bit of correction. Oh, Vert Wheeler's having some issues. Will he manage to keep the car? Yes, he backs right off, allows Weaven and Gallon to get through. I think Weaven did cautiously approach that. He's probably a little bit shy with getting past some back markers we saw last week in the last half of a lap get taken out by a back marker. And I think that's Rooney is spun out. But it's allowed Weaven to definitely get ahead of him. Corby has the lead. He doesn't have that time penalty. Oh, and he's got some aero damage. They just both get past Bertie's car. Rooney's going to struggle. This is what we saw happen to him in the first sprint race tonight. He's sporting a lot more damage than before, so that bonnet is quite heavily buckled. Yeah, that car's just not holding corners. That front aero is going to make it very difficult for those sharper corners. He's going to lose a lot of speed. Oh, it's going to be a slowdown given to him for there, but the car may be slow enough as it is. So, Weaven 5 seconds behind Corby. I think it's not enough in the next 2 laps to be able to catch that. He does have a second time penalty on himself. And then Rooney has 3 seconds of time penalty. So currently Gallen has the opportunity to get past him even if he doesn't make a pass on him. But the pace that Rooney's got, yeah, Gallen just needs to get around nice and safe. Gallen needs to try and reclaim about 3 seconds. Catch up on Weaven. And he may be able to steal position 2 away from him. At this stage, I think our podium finishers will be Corby, Weaven and Gallen. Rooney's going to drop positions quite quickly. That's a fair bit of damage to his car. Unfortunate for Rooney. That's a replay of what happened to him in the first race, but right at the end. Yeah, he's just struggling with that car at the moment. So Bertie is being a lap car. Look at needing to get past Rooney again. So he can unlap himself. Lap 24. Approaching our last lap. Let us know if you think Corby's going to maintain this. Is it Corby's race? And we've lost to Zero, who's sitting second for the championship. And he's got 192 points. Corby's sitting on 165, so victory here. That's big points for the main race of the round. He qualified in a nice position as well. There's heaps of space between him and Weaven. I think this is his race. Jump on board hopefully for a victory lap for Corby. We had Skiddy and a Zero disconnect. And it looked like Sweat Ridge had retired. He has retired. He will retain some points for the race. Yes, there is a car in the pits, so there is a retired car, so I'm assuming that would be Sweat Ridge's car. And it's quite interesting in actually what we're seeing. So on the broadcast screen, Corby's car's windscreen is completely smashed. However, the screen I'm seeing, there is no damage at all. So that usually is a result of lag. So it'll be interesting. Yes, you can't see smashed. Oh yeah, the car's quite smashed on that, but I'm not seeing that on mine. So it's very interesting. And here he goes, crossing the line, flashing the lights. Victory for Corby. Well done, Corby. Great drive. Weaven's going to slow down. I wouldn't be slowing down too much. Oh, that's a big hit. He's got the time penalty, so that's going to cost him a position. Gallen takes second position. If he hadn't slowed down for that, he could have actually still kept second position. And Rooney crosses in fourth, so he didn't drop too many positions. T-Rex coming into the last corner onto the final straight. 46 seconds remain. Finishing in 5th position. Demon Effects managed to recover a fair bit. He did drop behind a fair bit. He's recovered nicely. Still retains 6th position. D-Train in 7th. Fritz Skinia coming around onto pit straight now. And that will see Fritz finish in 8th position. And that is it. The race is complete. So that is round 3 of the Lake Edge V8 Supercar Championship. We have had Corby 387 take victory with a nice time of 1:17.4. So that looks to be the fastest time. Yes, so he also scores bonus points for fastest lap set. Also on the podium is Gallen 350 in second, Weaven in third. So if Weaven hadn't have hit those skids at the end, that could have kept him in second position possibly. So that saw him move to the lowest spot on the podium in third position. So then followed by Rooney 9915 in fourth, Terex, Demon FX, Mr. D-Train Barbado, Fritz Escania, Birdie 1035, Kakadu 2, Simo Simsel, Mersey Blue, Vert Wheeler, and Whacked Will. And looked like he was the one that retired, so that wasn't, not sure. Yeah, we didn't see where Sweaty went, so lost a 0 and we lost Skiddy at the start, so some disconnects going on as well. So next week we have is round 4. So we'll bring up the series schedule. So round 4 we head to Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. It'll be very exciting. So that is made for the IndyCars and also for the NASCARs when they do the circuit courses. So it'll be very fast racing for these V8 supercars around there. So same time, its broadcast starts at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So be sure to stay tuned, hit that follow button, be sure to get notified when we do go live. If you want to catch any of our past broadcasts, head over to our YouTube channel. We have our links at that. I appreciate if you want to follow it. You can also stay up to date with any of our results and the likes just simply by heading over to our Facebook page. You can also then head off into our group and join in if you want to get involved in any of the racing. So we currently run a iRacing series that you can join in if you're on that. That's on Tuesday nights at 7:30. Look up Apex Esports League on iRacing if you're keen for that. Otherwise, we're happy to see you join us next week, Thursday, 7:30 for round 4. Thanks for tuning in.